everyone and welcome to another bookish video. As you will see, there are a few gaps in my shelves because I have a big book stack next to me because someone in the comments of the last video, or a few videos ago, I've lost track. Someone in the comments of one of my last videos suggested that I do the Hamilton book tag. Hamilton as in the musical. Now you guys know me. Musicals, books, two of my all-time favourite things. Put them together and do a musical book tag? Yes, please. However, as much as I like Hamilton, I thought I would try and do my own version of the Hamilton book tag with a different musical. So I have had a stab at doing my own variations of these questions for a musical that I know far better than I know Hamilton, and that musical would be Heathers. So without further ado, here is the Heathers book tag from a member of the Westerberg High alumni. Number 1, beautiful, the prettiest book cover in your collection. I have a lot of very pretty books on these shelves, but there is always one that comes to mind and stands out whenever I think of when I've bought a book that I judged purely on its cover. I bought it when I was maybe 15. I still haven't read it because it's a chonky boy. It is 638 pages long. That is a long book. And it's also got a glossary of characters at the back, so it's intimidating. It's an intimidating book. But look how pretty. It's so pretty, and these bits are like actual little jewels. They're like actual little gems. They're not, they're plastic, but they're meant to look like little gems embedded in the cover. This is the book, I mean, obviously I started reading it when I first bought it and got to page, this is gonna be embarrassing, I got to page, oh. I got to page 1. Clearly, I was anticipating reading this book and just never did. I literally got to page 1, chapter 1. Really good, Carrie. So this is The Dream Merchant by Isabel Hoving. An epic fantasy, rich in adventure, thrilling suspense, and rare imagination. Open this book and lose yourself in time. The reason I have this book is because I think it was my birthday, and I must have been about 13 or 14, and for my birthday my brother asked me what I wanted and I said I wanted a book. So he took me into Waterstones and was like, pick anything you want, and I picked this and a book called Tell Me What You See, which I did read. It's far smaller than this tome. Number 2, Fight For Me, a character who is loyal to the end. I'm going to do a bit of a musical mashup right now because the character I have chosen who is loyal to the end is of course Eponine from Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo? I was about to start another sentence with I also have, and I ended up saying Victor Hugo. I also have Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, and I also have A Little in Love by Susan Fletcher. Susan Fletcher. It says page 21, last line. Maybe that's me trying to remember where I was. I think that's my bookmark. But it took me like 4 months to read it. It was tough. The second time around, I read the abridged version, I will be honest. And the third time round, there was someone else working on the show who very kindly gave us page numbers and specific parts of the book that focused on the characters that we were all playing. So the third time around, I just reread those bits. 3, Dead Girl Walking. The steamiest book you've ever read. This award, it's not an award, I'm making it an award. This award goes to, I only have the proof copy, but The Love Square by Laura Jane Williams. There's a lot of sex in this book, and there's bits of it that made me blush. I actually did the audiobook for this, and thank God I did this audiobook remotely on my own because I think I would have been mortified reading the steamy scenes out in front of anyone. Number 4, The Me Inside of Me, the book that made you feel less alone. For me, it has to be The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. The reading experience that I had when I read this book, I started reading this book and I can't remember how far I got into the book when suddenly we had a power cut at home, and it must have been sort of like October half term, because I remember it being cold, and when the power was off it was just like super dark, and this power cut lasted for like 3 or 4 days, and I read the majority of this book by torchlight. I had this I mean, this is so sad, but I had this really cool torch. I had this really cool torch that was a torch, but then when you like pulled it out, it like expanded and turned into a lantern. Does that make any sense? I know what I mean in my head. I'm gonna find a picture and show you what this looked like. I read the entirety of this book by that stupid little torch. And this is just one of those books that is perfect to be read by torchlight. It's so good. If you haven't read The Book Thief, it's brilliant. And also, the film adaptation of this just doesn't get the credit that it deserves. I loved the film adaptation of this. I watched it on a plane, I think, on the way back from holiday. It's just great. It's just so great. And when I think about this book, I just think of me, I think I must have been like 15 or 16, sat on my own in my bedroom, unable to contact any friends because power's down, and couldn't use MSN. And this was back when I had like a pay-as-you-go phone, and I was probably out of credit. There's gonna be people watching this who have no idea what that means. Does anyone have pay-as-you-go phones anymore, where you had to go to your local, like I had to go to my Tesco Express down the road and top up my credit, and every text cost me 10p? Does anyone have that anymore? So with the internet down, I couldn't contact anyone on MSN, so I was all alone in my bedroom, and I was just reading The Book Thief by torchlight. And I remember sobbing at this book as well. I remember how much this book broke my heart. I loved it so much. I might even need to reread it because it's just beautiful. Number 5, Youre Welcome, the book where someone gets their comeuppance. I don't know if you can call it a trope. There's been a few books that I've read recently where someone's done something where they've like taken credit for someone else's idea. They've just done something a bit dastardly, and I just cannot wait for the climax of the book where it gets revealed that they were a bit of a knobhead and they have to admit that they were wrong. Is that a trope? I don't know. I just really enjoy it when sort of the villain of the book gets their comeuppance. I've gone really old school for this answer. I've gone for Roald Dahl's Matilda and Frances Hodgson Burnett's A Little Princess. And it's essentially the headmistresses of both of these schools. It's Miss Trunchbull and Miss Minchin. And I've just realised that Miss Minchin shares the name with the composer of the musical of Matilda, Tim Minchin. What a coincidence. This is the 30th anniversary of Matilda, and the covers are so cool because it was like trying to represent what Matilda might be doing now. So I had the astrophysicist version, and this is meant to be Matilda as an astrophysicist. It's just so sweet. And I just love the end of Matilda when the chalk starts moving and starts writing. Agatha Trunchbull potentially killed her brother, Magnus. Dark. Agatha, this is Magnus. It is Magnus, and you'd better believe it. Agatha, give my Jenny back her house. Give my Jenny her wages, give my Jenny the house, then get out of here. If you don't, I will come and get you. I will come and get you like you got me. I am watching you, Agatha. And in A Little Princess, Miss Minchin treats Sarah Crewe really badly once the money stops coming in from her father, when her father is missing in action. It's been a long time since I've read this, but he's missing in action and money stops coming to the school to pay for her to be there. So Miss Minchin makes her a servant of the school, locks her up in the attic. And so when Sarah is finally found by the right people, Miss Minchin gets her comeuppance at the end. I just love it. It's way more satisfying in the movie, I will say that. 6, Never Shut Up Again, a book where someone has a mic drop moment. For this, I have picked The Shelf by Helly Acton, although I feel that there are several mic drop moments within this book. Helly Acton has just got the best brain for concepts. Obviously the writing is phenomenal as well, but the concepts of her books are just so clever. And within The Shelf, there is a game show where boyfriends drop off their girlfriends after having broken up with them, or use the show as a way to break up with them. And then these women are put into essentially like a Big Brother house and are taught how to keep a man, essentially. Most of the girls in the house are so against this because it's just so wrong. If a game show like this actually existed, it would be pulled off the air in seconds, because there's a big TV screen in like the living room where a Twitter feed is just scrolling constantly, showing the girls in the house what is being said about them by the public, and it's just so brutal. And the way that they all react to it, there are moments where they just say amazing things that you can imagine someone just being like, afterwards. That was really uncool. I'm not cool enough to do a mic drop. Number 7, Our Love is God, a moment in a book where two people have a perfect moment right before the shit hits the fan. I have 2 books for this. Again, it is One Day by David Nichols and The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey. I never know how to pronounce her last name. Niffenegger? Both couples in both of these stories have a moment where it's like the calm before the storm, where they both are just together and they're happy, and if life could just stay the way it is at that precise moment, everything would be good, and then it all goes to hell. Number 8, My Dead Gay Son, a book where parents accept their kids exactly as they are. I am currently reading a book that I am choosing for this. It is The House in the Cerulean Sea. Mr. Arthur Parnassus, who is the master of the earth, quick to catch your eye, you've got me into musical mode. He is the master of the House in the Cerulean Sea, which is the home of lots of children who are different, who have magical powers, are magical beings, creatures, whatever you would like to categorize them as. They are seen as other by everyone. They are seen as dangerous. They are not accepted in society. However, the way that Arthur Parnassus treats these kids and speaks to these kids and teaches them and just loves them because they are who they are, it is just heartwarming, and I love seeing it from Linus, the protagonist of this piece. I love seeing the way that Linus, who is quite a reserved, factual, statistic, work, logic-driven person. It's really lovely seeing him see the more emotional approach to dealing with these children and how he is slowly sort of softened and warmed by that. Chauncey, the kid who wants to be a bellhop, is just my favourite character of this whole book. Where am I at? I am on page 203 of what is, I think, a 390 page Kindle book. So I'm 46% of the way through the book, so I've still got quite a long way to go. I know nothing about the rest of the story, so please don't spoil it for me, although by the time this video goes up, hopefully I will have finished it. Number 9, I Say No, a book where someone stands up for themselves. I've tried to go unconventional. There are lots of books that I've read on these shelves where someone has stood up for themselves. In fact, I think most stories contain someone who stands up for themselves in some way or another, but the book, for some reason, that spoke to me, that jumped out of the shelves at me when I thought of this prompt, it was The Light Between Us by Katie Kahn, because I remember the whole way through, the main character, who is called either Thea or Taya. I'm gonna go with Taya. It's been a long time since I've read this book, so there might be somewhere in the book that says her name is like short for Theodora, and therefore she is called Thea. Although that would be Theo. I can't remember. I'm gonna go with Taya. The main character, Taya, has this idea, this scientific idea, where she is convinced that she can make time travel possible. No one believes her. And they do this experiment right at the beginning where she is certain it's gonna work, and they don't think it has, or they think it goes wrong, and she is so convinced that her idea was right. And I mean, again, it's been a long time, but I seem to remember there is a moment where she is like, it worked, and I told you it worked, and everyone's thrilled for her. So it's less that she stands up for herself and it's more that she just believes in herself, which, it's my tag, I'm saying that counts. And finally, number 10, kindergarten boyfriend, a character who is hopeful against all odds. I have gone for The Finding of Martha Lost by Caroline Wallace. Martha Lost is the character that I am talking about. I love this book, it's so gorgeous. I love all of Caroline's books. They're always just so quirky and eccentric and magical, but really honest and gritty. All of her books are great. And Martha is just this gorgeous, hopeful, innocent, pure character who was left in a suitcase as a baby at Liverpool Lime Street Station and has been at the lost property office ever since. That's literally where she lives and where she's grown up. And she just carries this little flame of hope that at some point someone is going to come back and claim her. This book is proper magic. I'm actually just sort of remembering so many things from this book now and I just love it. I highly recommend The Finding of Martha Lost. And this cover, again, this is another really pretty book. So there we go. There is my Heather's book tag. Please feel free to do it yourself, whether that's in a video on YouTube if you are a booktuber, whether that's on Instagram, or however you want to do it, even if it's just like below in the comments. Feel free, I would love to see your answers, and I will see you very soon.